if I described him to you, you would think I was describing some sort of leather-clad biker dude who belonged to the Hells Angels or something. And you would have been right. I have to confess, I was a little intimidated. But Marcy and I had seen this guy around town quite a bit, particularly in a restaurant that we frequented several times. And often we had noticed that when he was in there, he would have one or two other dudes with him, and he was kind of acting like he was giving them counsel, like almost like a pastor, a biker pastor. And so it intrigued us. And one day, not knowing exactly what I would say, I found myself standing over his table while he was alone, and he was reading a newspaper. He had little reading glasses on. He was reading this newspaper. And I said, excuse me. And when he looked up from the paper, he didn't actually move. He was just reading his newspaper, and he just kind of looked at me like this. And that just made me more intimidated. He was a very cool character. And so I said something along the lines of like, my wife and I have noticed that you really seem to always have other dudes with you, and you seem like a counselor or a pastor. I'm a Christian, and I just wanted to say that I think you're tapping into something, maybe a gift from God that is deep in you, and I just wanted to encourage you and say, way to go. Well, of course, I felt very awkward and maybe a little stupid, and he didn't move. He just sort of stayed there like this, and that made me more intimidated. And then he did this. Took off his glasses like a man about to enter into a fight or something. He took off his glasses and he said the following. He goes, you know, I've always had a sense of that. Like ever since I was a kid, I just wanted to help people. Whew, I thought. And then I was kind of back on familiar ground. And, you know, we had a little bit of a conversation. It sort of ensued. I can't say that and then I led him to the Lord right there. He bowed down right in the middle of the restaurant, gave his life to Jesus. You know, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that the conversation went on. There was a connection made. A bridge was built in a way. And he thanked me. And we both kind of went on our day. So the reason that I wanted to share that with you is the fact to let you know that I totally understand it when you're feeling fear a fear that won't grip you when you go to share your heart with somebody, and you want to have a spiritually significant conversation, and your heart beats because you're not sure what the person will think or say or if they'll be interested at all. But Psalm 34:4 says, "I sought the Lord, and he answered me and delivered me from all my fears." Has he? Has he delivered you from all your fears? What a great psalm that is, just to pray through and meditate on, and asking the Lord to deliver you from all your fears when it comes to sharing your faith. We know that he hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of love, which launches us, compels us. The love of God compels us to share our faith. Of love, of power. So the Holy Spirit empowers us to share our faith, to be his witnesses, and of a sound mind. You're not going crazy by even wanting to share your faith. Do you realize that the most sanest thing to do of all when a bridge is out is to tell somebody the bridge is out and here's the way? That's the most sanest thing to do of all. And we need to understand that God is big enough even to rescue us if we make a mistake. He rescues us from our blunders. J. Oswald Sanders wrote a great book called The Divine Art of Soul Winning. And in that, he tells a number of little stories, many of them that are very inspiring to me, One of them, though, he says there was a pastor who was talking to one of his ignorant members, and he said, "Why don't you go and share your faith with people? Tell them about Jesus." And the guy was like, "Okay, I will." And he walked down the aisle and plopped himself down next to somebody who was an obvious newcomer. And he goes, "Sir, do you want to go to heaven when you die?" This guy was a lawyer. And this lawyer said, "Well, I don't really know. I'm not sure." And the guy says, "Well, then, go to hell." And he got up and walked away. And I can imagine the pastor going, "Ah," and maybe even slapping that guy. But what happened, here's the rest of the story. The lawyer had actually been pricked by that in his heart, and he couldn't get it out of his head. And so he paid the pastor a visit a few days later. And he said, "Man, I hate to acknowledge it, but that blundering fool of yours," what he said, just that remark kept ringing in my ears. And actually, at last, I just got down on my knees and I said, "Lord, give me the faith of that blundering fool who made me so mad." And Jesus saved me. So the two of them went together to the home of the blundering fool, and with tears streaming down his face and wringing his hands, this lawyer said, "You are the man who led me to Christ." What? God is big enough even to rescue us from our blunders. If he can use a donkey, he can speak through a donkey. He can speak through me, and he can speak through you. He's big enough to work out even our mistakes for his glory. What an amazing God. Go tell someone.